Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of this, the new Vaer automatic, currently live on Kickstarter. Now you may remember I reviewed their previous model, their quartz model, about 6 months ago. I really quite liked it. I suggested that you should consider it to be like a half price Hamilton. That is, it was about half the price of the Hamilton khaki quartz, and I thought the case finishing on the Vaer in particular was vastly superior to anything that I'd seen from Hamilton at or around the price. Now, a lot of you liked the watch. They liked the fact that it was a small Californian company. These watches are assembled in the USA. A lot of you, however, didn't like the fact that it was quartz. Now, Vaer had already been working on an automatic model. They let me know that, and I think I mentioned that in the video as well. And here it is. And judging by the response of the Kickstarter campaign, a lot of you have indeed been hanging on, saving your pennies and your dollars for the auto. Now, full disclosure, this video is sponsored by Vaer. They would be delighted for me to show you this watch, let you have a good look at it while their campaign is still active, so you can decide whether or not you want to jump on board or not. But as always, don't just take my word for it. I think there are about 3 or 4 other videos on YouTube, reviews of different dial variants of this one. Make sure you have a good look at all of those before making up your own mind. Alright, let's flip the camera, have a good look at this one, and let's start with a look at the Kickstarter campaign. Because the Kickstarter campaign is going off like a frog in a sock. Definitely one of my favourite Australianisms there. Now, it is a vastly complicated Kickstarter campaign. I will leave a link to this one in the description of the video. There are 3 different movement options, 4 different dial choices, a couple of different colours in with those choices. There's date, there's no date, and I believe there are 4 different strap options you can pick from as well. So I cannot possibly run you through all of it in the space of this video. Definitely click the link and have a look. Bottom lines though, I'm in Australia. This one came down to me a bit late. The early birds have gone, so the cheapest of these, and you know how obsessed I am with the bottom line price, is $329 for the Miyota 9015 powered version. I've got one of those Miyota 9015s to show you today in the Heritage dial. There's also an ETA 2824 and a Dirty Dozen one, which looks spectacular. Small seconds, also ETA powered, but they're well over $600 US, which is a not inconsiderable sum. So again, click the link in the description of the video and have a good look at this Kickstarter campaign for yourself. But here's the one that I've got to show you today, and I must say I am not disappointed by the one they sent me. I think it is a gorgeous looking little watch. So as I said in the intro, I have the Heritage dial, I've got the no date version of it, and they've sent me 2 effectively of the 4 different strap choices. So I will show you, I'll show you the watch on all 3 of these different variants today, in addition to the 2-piece nylon and the single-piece NATO strap. They are offering a silicone variant and also a Horween 2-piece. The idea of all of these watches is it's a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 watch on one strap, but it's also a weekender on the other strap. On that basis, I think my choice would be the silicone and the Horween. I think they would make a great combination if that indeed was what you wanted this watch for. One for the office and one for the weekend. So all the usual good stuff, dimensions and specifications. I'm going to pop the 9015 on a time grapher, some indoor and outdoor shots, high and low wrist shots, and tell you what I think is good about this Vaer and what I think is not so good about this Vaer. So 40mm in diameter, just over 10mm thick, so very nice and slim. 48mm lug tip to lug tip, bang on. 20mm lug width, and on this supplied 2-piece canvas strap, this one weighs in at 68 grams. I believe the head of the watch is around 60 grams. It's not going to vary all that much depending on which of the strap options that you're putting it on. 316L stainless steel case, 3-piece case. We've got a smooth bezel here, brushed, but there's a little bit of high polish on the side. I'll show you that in just a second. Stainless steel signed Vaer crown, and we've got a see-through case back, display case back, showing off the rather attractive Miyota 9015. Now, sapphire sandwich, so the display case back is sapphire, as is this piece of double domed sapphire crystal covering the dial there. Now you can see in my studio lights there's a fairly strong pop of blue anti-reflective coating, which I really do quite enjoy. I think it contrasts nicely with this Heritage, with this slightly older style dial. So this is the Heritage dial. You can get a proper field dial if you want with the 24-hour indicators on an inner track, but I do like this one. Very clean, super legible, nice big sword hands, large Arabics, everything nice and crisply printed, just the Vaer logo underneath the 12, automatic 100 meters above the 6, and American assembly. If you opt for the Miota, they obviously ship everything over to California and assemble them there. If you opt for one of the 2 Swiss movement variants, it comes Swiss made. So obviously those ones, it's the same cases either way, but they assemble them in Switzerland to qualify for the Swiss made label. Now, case finish. The finish on this case, the standard of finishing on the case of these Vaers, it really is one of the standouts. It's the reason why I compared it so favourably to the Hamilton last time. Beautiful satinised brushing. It is so super smooth to the touch as well. And you see, in profile, the case is curved. So it's not a slab-sided case, it's got a bow to it. Nice, delicate lugs, quite thin lugs. Chamfered high polish edge to the top there. All brushed bezel with a little high polished circle. So unlike the Hamilton, it doesn't have a high polished bezel, it's got a brushed bezel, brushed side case, just a couple of little touches of polish though. Really very, very nicely made indeed. In fact, let's put it side by side with the Hamilton. Now this is the Hamilton Khaki King that I got in from Joma Shop a couple of weeks ago, and you can see the difference. The Hamilton, as nice as it is, has that high polished smooth bezel rather than a brushed one. The case is slab-sided and those lugs are nowhere near as elegant as the lugs on a Vaer. I wasn't kidding when I said that this one was better finished than a Hamilton. It really, really is. Obviously, it does have some areas where it falls short compared to the Hamilton, but in terms of the case, it's just a beautiful case design on this Vaer. Now let's go macro for another close-up look at that dial. So it is printed matte black, all quite plain really, but all nicely done. Very crisply printed Arabics. You've got that train track, round the minute track around the outside. Extended batons pushing beyond those 2 concentric circles for the 12, the 3, the 6 and the 9, and little circular indices for the other hour markers. American assembly, as noted, printed very nicely underneath the index at the 6. The handset, decent size sword hands, nicely proportioned, very simple, very legible, nothing too fancy there. Quite a delicate, slender second hand, but it does have that red arrow tip at the end. The whole thing is red. I think the red second hand, the colour, just adds an extra little bit of pop to what is a very clean, simple, very enjoyable, old-fashioned heritage style dial. Now, as discussed, this is a prototype and the loom on prototypes isn't always the best. However, this one seems pretty good. If it's representative of the finished article, then I wouldn't be disappointed. BGW9, obviously you get quite a bit on those indices. It doesn't last as long as the hands though, but it's the hands that you really want to hang on in there, and they seem to do that quite nicely. No lollipop on the back end of the second hand or the tip of the second hand, so you're just stuck with the hour and minute after dark, but it's not a problem. Loom looks pretty good to me. Let's have a look at the movement then. Through that display case back, the usual spec sheet, water resistance, 100 meters. This one has a screw down crown and assembled in America, designed in LA, sapphire glass, all the usual stuff. So this is a Miota 9015. It's the Japanese equivalent of the ETA 2824. Indeed, it was brought out to rival the ETA 2824 when the Swatch Group crippled supply to third parties a few years ago. 24 jewels, hacking and hand winding. Quite attractive as well. I always find a nice movement to look at. I don't really want to see the Seiko NH35, but these ones are good. Tokyo stripes on the back there and a nicely attractive rotor. Vaer have signed the rotor, which is always worth doing. Now it is a high beat 4 Hz movement, 28,800 vibrations per hour, so you do get that smooth sweep of the second hand, but it only winds in one direction. So this is a movement that you can hear and feel spinning on your wrist, so make sure you're okay with that if you pick the 9015 option. Let's get this one on the time grapher. So the stated tolerances of these 9015s are -10 to +30 seconds per day. This one looks like it's healthily, comfortably running in the middle of that somewhere, +10 seconds a day. Zero beat error, which is always a good sign. They are generally solid, reliable, as well as attractive movements, these ones, and super slim. One of the reasons why Vaer were able to get this case down to 10mm is because they used the 9015. And that slimness, definitely one of the factors as to why this watch wears so nicely. Just over 10mm, including a double dome sapphire crystal, so without the sapphire it would be under 10mm thick, but I'm delighted that they used a domed as opposed to a flat sapphire. I think flat sapphire would have killed this one, but the dome sets it off very nicely. So I've got a 7-inch wrist for your reference. I'm not massively into NATOs myself, so as I discussed, it would be the 2-piece options that I'd be going for. This nylon one looks like it will last a lifetime, certainly needs a little bit more breaking in than I've been able to give it over the last couple of days or so. Quite long lugs relative to the diameter, and the spring bars sit right at the end of those lugs, but it does mean that it drops straight, it conforms to your wrist nicely. Super legible, I think it looks great. And that's the proper overhead shot. Again, you'll have no difficulty telling what the time is with this one, those stark white hands contrasting nicely against the black dial. Big white crisp Arabics done there as well, all looking good. And when I get this watch outside in some natural light, you can see that little pop of blue AR coating again there, very nicely indeed, complementing the double dome sapphire. I think two very good choices by Vaer, the dome sapphire crystal and the AR coating. It does wear a little flat, not super curvy on the case, but because they've decided to put the spring bars right at the edge of the lugs, it does help it sit nicely on the wrist. Now, just because I don't like NATO straps doesn't mean to say that you all don't like NATO straps. The ones that are supplied, kind of standard, nice brushed buckle to match the finish of the mid case there, brushed fasteners as well, fairly high quality, double stitched, not bonded, just what you'd be hoping for. Or if you want a slightly more military look, here's a kind of khaki one if you're off camping or trekking at the weekend. So far so good then. It seems like the wait for the auto, if you have been hanging on and you're one of those 400 odd backers, you're not going to be disappointed. Deceptively simple looks, but very, very kind of classic styling, super legible. I do like the case design, definitely one of the highlights. Beautiful, smooth edges, all very elegant when you get it on wrist, and it's comfortable as a consequence. What am I not all that impressed with? Well, to return to the Kickstarter campaign, if you want one of these with a date, I'm not really sure how good the heritage dial in particular, and also that field dial looks with a date. It does rather kind of punch its way in there. The heritage one clips the 3 as well, which I don't think is all that great looking. If you need a date on your watch, you might go for that design dial. I think that's much more nicely integrated, little circular, cut out where the 3 o'clock index would go. So I'd be opting for this one in a no date variant if I was going to go for it. Now the crown on this is perhaps a little bit small. I know they're going to make it bigger for production units, but they could have made it slightly thicker, just made it slightly easier to use than it is currently. My only other concern is the price. Isn't it always? I'm a little bit obsessed with price. Now, as I said, I missed out on the early bird. I can't tell you these are $299 because they're not. They're now $329 for the Miyota powered one. I think that is still pretty good. I think the watch, this quality is there, especially if you get it on a couple of straps, the Horween and perhaps the silicone one. As I said, I think overall that's a nice package for Monday to Friday and then swapping it out for the weekend. Now when I reviewed the quartz, I said it was like a half price Hamilton given the quality of case finishing available. This one, however, is pitched pretty much up against the price of Hamilton. If you shop around, if you go grey market, you should be able to pick up a Hamilton Khaki King for not much more than that $330. So that becomes a choice for you. Do you go mainstream or do you go micro? Now it's a little unfair of me perhaps to expect Vaer to be pricing these any much sharper than they already are. I spoke to Ryan and Regan. They're a small company, this is only their second offering. They simply don't have the economies of scale which are available to the Swatch Group. If you own ETA, then ETA are not making any profit on the movements that they supply to you. I'm sure Miyota are making a bit of a skim there, the case manufacturer's making a profit, the strap manufacturer's making a profit, etc, etc. Ryan and Regan said that that was about as low as they could go and without running into financial difficulties themselves, selling these ones for just over $300. So the Kickstarter campaign I still think offers a decent bit of value. The Swiss ones, the ETA 2824 at $450, not quite as much value, and I think they might struggle to sell these at their projected prices after the campaign ends. They're looking for $450 for a Miyota powered one and $599 for an ETA 2824 powered one. Oh, sharp intake of breath there, folks. I think $600 might be stretching the friendship quite a bit actually for one of the Swiss powered ones after the campaign ends. So as always, if you're keen on the watch, get in now, get the best price you can. So let's finish with a bit of a macro montage then. I think this is the watch that people have been waiting for. All of the good things about the quartz, the American assembly, that super smooth case finishing, the variety of different strap choices as a package, with now an automatic movement for those of you who just can't hack quartz. A lot to like, they look good, they wear well. So as I said, if you're into it, jump on board now before those prices go up any further. So there you have it, the Vaer Automatic then. You asked for it, they made it, and you all appear to be lining up in droves to buy it. And I think with some justification. This little heritage dial design is gorgeous. Domed sapphire crystal, little pop of AR, so clean, so legible, sweet little watch. My only real reservation is the price, isn't it always? Once you start going north of $300 US, you're no longer a half price Hamilton, you're pitching your watch directly against the Hamilton. Now, it's difficult for a micro brand in only their second model after all to compete with the economies of scale of a behemoth like the Swatch Group. So that's a decision that you're going to have to make. Do you go mainstream or do you go micro? I think if you do go micro, you're getting a gorgeous little watch assembled in the USA like the Hamiltons of old used to be. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.